Sift 3/4 cup of coconut flour, 1 tablespoon of baking powder, 3/4 teaspoon of xanthan gum or cognac powder, and if desired you can add some dry seasonings of your choice. Sift it all together into a large mixing bowl until there are no lumps. Stir in 3 large room temperature eggs, a half cup of butter that's been melted and cooled, and a half cup of room temperature sour cream or plain yogurt until a smooth dough forms. Form the dough into a ball and let it sit for about 5 minutes so it can absorb any extra moisture. Divide the dough into 7 equal portions. Roll each portion into a smooth ball and place it onto a lined baking sheet. Leave some space in between each one of the dough balls. Use your hands and press each dough ball into a circle that's roughly around 4 inches in diameter, give or take a little bit. Place a ½ ounce chunk of mozzarella cheese in the center of each one of the circles. Then pull the dough up around the cheese to form a ball that's roughly around 2 inches in diameter. Make sure that the cheese is fully sealed into the dough. Place the bread bombs in your preheated oven and bake at 400 degrees for 15 to 20 minutes or until golden. Once the bread bombs are all cooked, remove them from your oven and allow them to cool in the pan for about 5 minutes so they can firm up a little bit. If you want to, while the bread bombs are still warm, you can brush the tops of them with some melted butter or some butter herb topping. You can see my written recipe for the butter herb topping that I use. You can just leave them plain if you want to also. You can serve these warm or at room temperature. Cut 1 pound of boneless chicken breast into 1-inch pieces and set it aside for a minute. Cut a ½ pound of bacon into thirds. Roll 1 piece of bacon around 1 chicken piece until all the chicken pieces have been rolled in bacon and place them seam side down. If you need to, you can place a toothpick in the center of the chicken and bacon once it's rolled up. That way you can make sure that it stays together when it's baking. Once they're rolled, set them aside for just a second and set up an oven fryer rack. If you don't have an oven fryer rack, you can basically just cover a cookie sheet with foil and put a cooling rack in the center of the cookie sheet. In a wide bowl, stir together a 1/3 cup of brown monk fruit sweetener or brown sugar sweetener of your choice, a ½ teaspoon of chili powder, and an 1/8 teaspoon of cayenne pepper until there are no lumps. Place the wrapped chicken pieces one at a time into the sweetener mixture and roll it around once or twice just to lightly coat the wrapped chicken with the sweetener mixture. Place the coated chicken seam side down onto your prepared oven fryer rack. Make sure to leave some space in between each one of the chicken pieces. Bake in a preheated oven at 350 degrees for 30 to 35 minutes or until the chicken is fully cooked and the bacon is crisp. Once cooked, remove the pan from the oven and allow the chicken pieces to cool on the pan for about 3 to 5 minutes before serving them. Sift a ½ cup of coconut flour, 1 tablespoon of baking powder, a 1/4 teaspoon of salt, a 1/4 teaspoon of xanthan gum or gelatin powder, and if desired, you can add some dry seasonings of your choice. Sift them all together into a large mixing bowl until there are no lumps. Stir in 2 large room temperature eggs, a 1/4 cup of butter that's been melted and cooled, a 1/4 cup of room temperature sour cream or plain yogurt, and 2 tablespoons of warm water until everything is combined and a smooth dough forms. Form the dough into a smooth ball and place it onto a lined work surface. Roll the dough out to a rectangle that's around a 1/4 inch thick. Spread your desired filling over the dough rectangle. Make sure you leave about a 1/2 inch empty border around the edges so that when you roll this up, the filling won't gush out the sides. I'm just using a ham and cheese filling. You can see my written recipe for that, but you can put any filling you want in this. Use your parchment paper as a guide and roll the dough into a tight spiral over the filling. Leave your parchment paper attached to the roll and place it in your freezer for about 15 to 20 minutes or just until it's firm, not frozen, just firm. Once the roll is firm, Remove it from the freezer and unwrap it. Then cut the log into slices that are around a 1/2 inch thick. Place the slices flat side down and side by side into 2 8-inch round cake pans. If you want to, you can brush the tops with some melted butter, or again, I'm using my butter herb topping mix also for this, so you can use that also. You can see the written recipe for that. Place the pinwheels in your preheated oven and bake at 375 degrees for 17 to 20 minutes or until golden. Once the pinwheels are cooked, remove them from the oven. Allow them to cool in the pan for about 7 to 10 minutes or until they are firm. You can serve these warm or at room temperature. Sift 1 cup of golden flaxseed meal, and if desired, you can add some salt or some dry seasonings of your choice. Sift them together into a large bowl until there are no lumps. Stir in a 1/2 cup of warm water until everything is fully combined and you have a very wet mixture. Push the mixture to the center of the bowl. Cover the bowl with some plastic wrap and let it sit for about 10 to 15 minutes to absorb all of the water and thicken to a dough texture. Once the water has all been absorbed, uncover the bowl, line a work surface with parchment paper, and roll the dough out as thin as you can, around anywhere from an 1/8 inch to a 1/16 inch thick. You want this very thin so it'll cook quick. Cut the rolled dough into triangles or into your desired shapes. Use a spatula and transfer the uncooked chips to a lined baking sheet. Make sure you leave some space in between each one of the chips for an even cook. Place the chips in your preheated oven. Bake at 400 degrees for 10 to 15 minutes or until they're darkened around the edges and starting to dry. Once the chips are baked, remove them from the oven. Allow them to cool on the pan for about 10 minutes so they can continue to dry and firm up. After 10 minutes, transfer the chips to a wire rack and continue to let them cool for another 15 to 20 minutes more or until they are completely dry and crispy. Then you can serve these immediately and eat them plain or with the dip of your choice.